I can't even. I can't even trust this.
No, stop! Please stop, please. No, please.
So it's just for me. I can't do it.
You can. You can do it. You can.
Some Indian filmmakers in the mid-2000s to the early 2010s actually made a name for themselves by remaking or adapting South Korean blockbusters, mostly in the revenge genre that the country absolutely aces. You had films like Zinda, Avarapan and Murder 2, all movies that entertained Indian audiences, but its source material is unquestionable. One of these remakes that really resonated with audiences was the 2014 film Ek Villain, starring Siddharth Malhotra, Shraddha Kapoor and Ritesh Deshmukh, which was a sanitized remake of I Saw the Devil. The unapologetic and gory violence was substituted with more dialogues and an insight to a toxic relationship of an antagonist, largely celebrated by India as a whole. One of the biggest recall values of the movie being its melodious album, especially Galiyan, Zarurat and my favorite, Humdard. One would assume the story is done and dusted, but the nature of most production companies across the globe is to revive franchises and cash in on the nostalgia that the titles hold and come up with a new universe while extending the same franchise. There is also a saturation of franchises in Hindi cinema that have literally nothing to do with the previous installment. You out of nowhere come with fresh characters, a new perspective, absolutely different treatment of its direction, and wonder why it's even considered to be an installment in the same universe. This is the case for franchises that were initially engaging and exciting and have now transformed into a pile of poo, whether it be the action franchises in the form of Race and the travesty that was The Last Venture, Houseful, Golmaal and Masti in the comedy category that got more lewd and absurd as the installments increased, and finally now you have a sequel to a movie that no one really envisioned. My red flags immediately went on siren mode when I heard about the cast, also hearing that Aditya Roy Kapoor left the project presumably because of creative differences with Mohit Suri and having the lack of scope with his role that eventually went to Arjun Kapoor. But let's get to brass tacks and actually talk about the trailer and what the film promises us to provide on the big screen. What I liked about it. Potential music. Mohit Suri films usually deliver when it comes to the music department. He has categorically worked towards making sure that his movies curate original music and has mostly delivered regarding the same. Just his last three ventures alone, including Malang, Half Girlfriend and Hamari Adhuri Kahani, have really delivered in the music department, really cementing their position as some of the best music albums in recent years. His movies that have various artists working on the music has really developed hope within the audience that Hindi cinema is capable of creating beautiful original music. Maine Tera Naam Dil Rakh Liya that plays in the background through the trailer really promises to be a melodious tune that I will definitely have on loop on Spotify. The only bummer that I had while at least listening to the tunes through the trailer was that they remade Galiyan as well, as an homage to the first film, also recreating the same romantic moment across the glass window. The scene being a homage aside, I really did not want to see a Galiyan remake, especially when Mohit and his films usually stay away from remaking music. I don't know what is going on. One of the biggest positives about a movie like Malang was that it is specially delivered with its ultimate twist in the thriller. One was expecting just to be a run-of-the-mill cat and mouse chase, but my god did it develop beautifully to raise the stakes and catch you off guard with its screenplay, especially in the second half. As the movie trailer presents serial killers on the loose killing women in situations of unrequited love, one assumes that the two serial killers in the same predicament clash heads with one another. The reality, however, may be way different, the women actually being the masterminds of the entire escapade, loving to see the world burn, and the men assume that they are the cause of their destruction. It would have been beautiful if they left the last reveal to be experienced in theaters, but I'm sure it's more than what meets the eye. However, what a movie of like this nature really requires is actors who can convince you of the bloody stakes, and that's why my skepticism really is at its peak. What I'm skeptical about. The action. The sequences of combat can easily transition to become ludicrous in this film. There was a time when Satyamev Jayate was passable, but the sequel just took it to a length of absurdity where it just became a laughing stock. In some of the sequences from the trailer, as I see John and Arjun Kapoor coming head to head with one another, the face mapping on the bodies is so awful that it clearly denotes someone else performing the stunts, where it even gets slightly complicated. Some of the frames of the explosions behind characters with the fake Arjun Kapoor on a bike were really jarring. acting. The quintessential shirt ripping off only for a punching match to commence is commercial Hindi cinema at its best. But I hope that the action doesn't transition to become completely absurd, taking away from a plot that might be interesting. The cast. Playing around with the concept of not knowing who the hero or villain is can turn out to be very interesting, but I have to say that the acting performances of the cast, at least from the trailer, seems like everyone really needed to take a dump and ease up a little. In the process of being intense in front of camera, you become so stiff that it actually seems like you haven't pooped for days. John Abraham has a knack of really getting the intensity bang on in some of his films, but it also can momentarily come across as poker face stiffness. Arjun Kapoor trying to be all menacing with an attempt at a baritone delivery is more performative than natural. His attempt at being menacing doesn't come across as something organic, but almost as if the actor has a point to prove that he can do something different this time. Disha and Tara, as the surprise package in this film, can turn out to be a hit and a miss. Both the actors still not really proving themselves as proficient actors, mostly dismissed as pretty faces, and even though Disha was convincing in Malang, most of the heavy lifting was done by Aditya Roy Kapoor. It will really be jarring if there are any remnants of Tara's performance from her previous ventures like Tadap and Heropanti 2, because that was annoying as hell and there's no question about it. It also makes me think that Aditya Roy Kapoor going face to face with John Abraham actually would have accounted for a more intense film, at least in terms of performances. The only thing that I can conclude from the trailer is that I don't have any idea about the plot. A huge plus for a trailer, which has me intrigued, but what has me really worried is the conviction of the star cast and whether they can deliver as actors for a film that is presented on such a massy commercial scale. And that was the video, guys. Write down in the comments below what you thought about the trailer. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the handle's right in front of you. Follow me at JammyPants4. Also, please support us by smashing the like button and subscribing to our channel for weekly content ahead. Thank you for watching.